and welcome to Melt. I'm Ritvika Gupta, and on today's episode we'll be speaking to Siddharth Banerjee of Vodafone. He'll be talking about the impact of data-driven marketing and the evolving role of the marketer. Anant Rangaswamy, editor of Melt, joins me today.
Hi.
Hi Anant. Anant, when we think of Vodafone, we think of all the iconic campaigns over the years, whether it's Asha Bala, the Zuzus, or the recent Lookup, or even the Pug, which they brought back this year. And these are all born out of deep consumer insights. So is it safe to say that data-driven marketing is more important than ever before today?
When Vodafone launched in India, when they were Hutchison Max, and then later it became Orange, then later it became Vodafone, and so on. So yeah, there is no industry category which has as much real-time data as the mobile service provider. So they can track millions of calls per second, millions of text messages per second. They know who's downloading video, who's downloading audio. They know everything. And obviously, if you use that data well, you get good output.
Great. So what was your conversation with Siddharth about today?
Well, fundamentally the category, in his case, the mobile service category, the advantage it has, it can divide its data by geography, by age, by day part, all kinds of things, simply because they have the data. And therefore, the challenges, the benefits, the difficulties in using data to market is starkly defined in the category itself. And Vodafone has done a great job, and we have a look at that.
Right. And a part of your conversation with Siddharth was also about the changing role of the CMO. Like, say 10 years ago, the CMO and the CTO, they didn't really have much to say to each other, but things have changed. CMO cannot work in isolation. So could you elaborate on that?
Sure. A few episodes ago, we spoke to Kashyap from Pepperfry. Now, that's a mid-sized company, and perhaps it's obvious that as the person who runs the company, started the company, he is the custodian of all data. Whatever he says works. In Siddharth's case, it's not the same. He is not the custodian really of data. He's the ultimate user and beneficiary of data. But he's not the custodian of data. No data is generated by him or comes to him. Very little. I wouldn't say no. However, data resides in various parts of Vodafone. And one of the challenges that Siddharth, or an equivalent in his job, has is to convince his colleagues to part with the data, give it to him, and then he can stare at all the data and then say, okay, what can we do with this data? How can we mine the data for insights, which will then lead to great communication, which will lead to a better top line, better bottom line, and so on and so forth.
Great. But how does one keep up with the constantly evolving consumer? Because you have to create different messaging on different platforms, to target different audiences.
You're saying how can you keep up with? I don't think I have a choice. You have to keep up with. The data is there. We'll get more sophisticated in the understanding and use of data. We've discussed before the mountain of data that's available. There's no higher, taller mountain than the mountain of data in the telecom sector. It's a massive, massive mountain, many Mount Everests, one on top of the other. So for them to say, okay, this is the data we're getting, this is the data we can use, this is the data we can mine, these are the insights we can get. Well, the more efficiently they do it, the better the messaging. You will see a situation, certainly in India, we are already seeing it in China, where they can do personalized messaging for each and every individual. Right. You're going to see that, and it will happen not 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it will happen a year or two from now.
Great. So let's quickly dive into the conversation. Let's get ready to melt with Siddharth Banerjee. And that was the conversation with Siddharth Banerjee, and here is the Melt cheat sheet. And that's a wrap on this edition of Melt. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. You can also connect with us on our social media platforms. And here's what's coming up next week.
The issue is that we get obsessed with data. And I'm not a great fan of data. Data by itself doesn't do anything. It's when you condense the data and extract knowledge out of it. These days the word insight is excessively used, so I'll avoid it. When you extract knowledge out of that data, that it becomes really usable.